Yeah, I think as far as the major challenges in 2025, from an accounting and tax perspective, I think there's obviously some some discussions around what will happen with tax rates and how we stay competitive in a global market. I think that's one of the biggest things when we talk about tax rates. A lot of folks just think about things that happen locally or in the United States, but these rates impact our clients, and I would say most of our clients and most of companies in the United States do some kind of activity, some kind of work globally, and therefore when we aren't as competitive globally, that impacts them. I think that obviously there's been talk about tariffs and issues like that, and I think companies are starting to try to figure out how that might impact what they do, and to me that's going to be something that we'll just have to kind of wait and see what those impacts are. I think in many ways, I think AI is going to be really, I know we talk about that later, but I think AI and just technology in general is going to continue to impact companies. How quickly do they adapt? Are they on the bleeding edge of things and so forth?
I think the challenges, tariffs are out there. We've been in a tariff environment for a while now, so I think people have gotten somewhat accustomed to navigating that issue. And I don't have a crystal ball really in terms of effectiveness in policy making, at least in the short term. 25 seems kind of early for anything, effective to be implemented.
Do you see any, and this, I'm springing this one on you, but are there any tax policy changes that you're anticipating that Plant Moran's clients will have to consider next year?
Yeah, we've been living under, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act since 2018, and that was Trump's tax policy. There are a lot of provisions in that act that are set to expire at the end of 25, and I think, the majority of us are of the opinion that some of those, provisions that are set to expire will get reinstated. That,
right.
We don't know for sure, but that's what we're expecting, I think, at this point.
I think that it's hard to pick what the winners or losers are in terms of where the bright spots in the economy are going to be. Certainly there's tech is a great example of innovation. I think that the innovative parts of our economy, I think that the business service sector remains largely positive about the outlook, and I think that we'll have to wait and see. But I think for the most part, that tepid response that you got in the surveys and that we've seen, I think that's indicative of just a lot of caution and less about pessimism. In 2025, there's a lot of concern about the office space and how that can be addressed. There's in real estate, the affordability of housing is a huge issue. The construction costs, that's a big unknown in terms of what could happen, whether it's the cost of raw materials with tariffs or the supply chain of labor. These are all huge questions that are going to be challenging in particular in the real estate sector. So we'll have to see. Landlords, in particular in the office space, certainly have some headwinds, and whether it's large spaces, large square footage that's underutilized, and when those leases roll, might roll into a smaller space with the same tenant or a new tenant. A lot of subleasing of people who've abandoned space but are still at this moment paying the rent. That is going to be a huge challenge for how do we as a community respond to that? What kind of use, if it's not going to be office, what is a higher and better use? And that's a huge question in front of those landlords right now. The small businesses that are occupying those spaces, whether they're expanding, contracting, or staying the same, it's a good time for them to be bringing people back to work because it's more affordable because of the dynamics of the supply and demand. So people are moving from Class B office space into Class A office space and paying the same rent. That's a huge win for the landlord who has that space that they're being able to move, have people move into, and it's a huge win for the businesses that are able to offer a more compelling office environment for their employees. They're trying very hard to attract back into that office. But there are definitely going to be winners and losers in the office space. The older office space in particular, that's going to be a challenging spot as they reach their functional end of life. It may not be a retrofit. It may involve some dynamite.
So that is such a good question. We spend a lot of time working with our clients on what they can anticipate the challenges are going to be in 2025 and beyond, right? Because now we're starting to look at 3 years out, 2028, and then of course 2030, and planning for that. The main issue is the uncertainty with the markets, the uncertainty with the interest rates, the uncertainty with the physical space that our clients require. So being able to plan for that can be very challenging. So we help our clients navigate that. As far as legally, the situation that we foresee is not only with, and I know we're going to get to this in a bit, artificial intelligence and the regulations and how to protect your organization if you are using AI, but then also really be in a position to experience the efficiencies and advantages of AI. So that is number one. And second behind that is all the regulatory changes. I mean, we're seeing it right now on the employment side with the National Labor Relations Board, regulations that the last administration had supported, and now we're seeing or anticipating experiencing a bit of a shift to different regulations. And so being able to navigate that uncertainty and remain flexible, and then also to take advantage of it and make sure that you're efficient with it, and then not getting yourself into trouble.
Right. Just to elaborate a little bit on the real estate aspect, I know Burhill, this law firm, has a lot of real estate clients. So specifically for those clients.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when we look at 2025, several challenges we see, and I would say some of them are, there's a lot of unknown right now. We have changing administration, changing political and regulatory environment, and we're not quite sure what we're going to see yet. And for us in particular, the regulatory environment and the interest rate environment is key to us and our clients. So with the new administration, all kinds of talks of things like we've mentioned, tariffs and all kinds of things. The impact that could have, there is so much unknown. And so probably more than ever, what we're saying is we have to prepare for a multitude and a big wide range of what could happen and not know what's going to happen. We're hoping for that early in 2025 as a new administration comes into play, that we start to get some certainty about what will happen. And I think we're at risk right now based on what happens versus doesn't. It could move the market one way or the other.